Hi, I'm Lisa Piene from De La Cruz Group. As we move forward in what everyone is calling the new normal, we want to keep exploring opportunities by understanding what's going on with consumers, what their priorities are, and how they have shifted through the different phases of the pandemic, from early on in March after the lockdown to the reopening in June. Today, you'll get data on how consumers' priorities and behaviors look for different generations and with some comparisons between Puerto Rico and US consumers. Also, we will talk about how all these changes resulted in a new customer journey that we need to consider when planning for brands. And finally, we want to share insights on how many people and brands are committed to taking a stand by becoming socially responsible towards their families, their friends, and communities. Now, let me introduce our business partners, Lourdes Fernandez and Maria Casas, founding partners at Multicultural Latino Footprint, a full-service custom and syndicated marketing research and strategic consulting company specialized in the cultural diversity markets. Hi, Lourdes. Hi, Maria. Thanks for being here today.
I am Lourdes Fernandez, a managing partner of MCLF and the statistical analyst that manages the quantitative department for the firm.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having us. I am the psychologist of this team and responsible for the qualitative department.
Lourdes, based on the quantitative research you've done both in Puerto Rico and the US, what are the top priorities for Puerto Ricans when asked what they truly desire to do once everything opens and the new normal is in place? Do you have any comparison with how consumers in the US feel about the same matter?
Well, Lisa, at the beginning of this pandemic and as we progressed towards the next months, we were able to see how the top two priorities by far for the Puerto Rican consumers have always been, number one, to be able to interact with family and friends, meaning get together with them, hug them, spend quality in-person time with them. And then number two, getting back to work, which is so important given the total amount of people in Puerto Rico that are unemployed throughout this pandemic. When we compare this to the same metrics for the USA, because we are running those questions parallel, there is over a 22% difference in the top mention, validating the importance of family and relationships for the Puerto Rican consumer when compared to the USA consumer. For Americans, second place is going to a restaurant, and going back to work shows much smaller numbers in comparison to Puerto Rico. So what do you think Puerto Ricans want to do in third and fourth place, which is now increasing as people are going back to work and the need to get a job diminishes? So number three, the third priority is shopping, and number four is eating out at a restaurant. So we are going to continue seeing those numbers increase as time continues to go by and the new normal sets in.
So we have seen a shift in behavior, but we also see a shift in emotions through all these phases from March till June and probably moving forward. What have you seen from your qualitative research about this shifting of emotions in the different phases of the pandemic?
This is one of my favorite insights, addressing the emotional side of the consumer. And I would say that their emotions have changed a lot since March. They are still changing. At first, you could sense their fear, worry, and the distress. As the time goes by, these emotions are replaced in some cases by acceptance and assimilation. We did a projective exercise in our online community, and we asked the participants to choose one picture that represents your feelings toward the COVID-19 experience. And it's really impressive to see how millennials selected stressful people or people underwater, like asking for help. And this is not the case for the Gen X, who choose a beautiful views with a happy people, just to represent that this is a learning experience and a great opportunity to grow. If we talk about the baby boomers, their images are sad and dark. The same generation, and this is my concern, the same generation that 6 months ago were very active and showed positive leadership in the Boricua community, sadly today they are the depressed.
Lourdes, we have seen a totally different customer journey because of what we have been going through. People have had to do things differently. What does your research show that you can share with us about this new customer journey?
Yes, Lisa, definitely. The brands are going to have to modify the way they talk to consumers because we're seeing a shift in that customer journey. For example, categories such as cars, people are doing their research using social media, and they're doing much more of that than before, and they're not going to a dealer to try the car. So that last step of sealing the deal in a dealership is not going to be the last step anymore. So the customer journey for that category has changed. The customer journey for somebody that usually bought one product specifically because that's the one they liked, they were loyal to the brand, completely changed as well. Why? Because consumers were obligated to purchase items that were available. So availability changed that customer journey and created a new opportunity for brands to compete against each other. So we're seeing services such as supermarkets that are delivering food. We're seeing stores that allow you to purchase and then go pick up at the store. So these are things that people were not accustomed to doing, and now it's part of the journey. Is that something that's going to stay as we move along? Some things will, some things won't. But it's necessary to understand that there is definitely a new normal in how brands are going to be communicating with consumers.
Lourdes, what can you tell us about what consumers and brands are doing to help? What are the facts that show us why social responsibility is still key for brands?
One of the things that we can tell you that's been very interesting and different from other research that we've seen in regards to social responsibility is the fact that we asked Puerto Ricans that have been unemployed or receiving a very low salary throughout the pandemic if they've been helped by family, by friends, and there's over 50% of these respondents that are saying that either a family or a friend has lent them money or has given them money to help them throughout these hard times. We asked that same question in the United States, and what we got was a percentage that was probably about 14-15%. So there's a huge difference of 50% over 14% saying that they are helping others in need. So what is this telling you? The Puerto Rican consumer, not the millionaires, anybody that has a job right now is lending their hand to help others in these hard times. Because of Maria and because of the earthquakes, this is something that each Puerto Rican believes that is a social responsibility for them to help everyone in need, especially those surrounding them. Now, how does that translate to a brand, to a company? Well, these customers are saying brands and companies should be socially responsible and they should be helping their communities. So that's the biggest difference. A person can make a change and a difference within their environment. Family and friends, or they're doing it in Puerto Rico. And a company can make a difference within their community. So that sense of help and resilience is what we are trying to communicate, because it's been very different from the data that we've seen so far of social responsibility. It's just something that warms your heart, and it's something very special that is very unique for Puerto Ricans.
From all the research that you have done, what is the most important recommendation that you can give us?
My recommendation is to be on social networks, definitely, because every single generation is in social media. You have to keep in mind that we are talking to an emotionally vulnerable society. Addressing a resilient Gen S is not the same as talking to the depressed baby boomer generation. So I think that you should carefully reflect on the focus and content of your communication. Also, you have to show your solidarity and compassion to the Puerto Rican people through your tactic strategies, because I think that will give you a place of respect in the consumer's mind and help to establish an emotional link which is so valuable in this time.
This new normal will be the only normal for a very long time. With this comes a shift on the experience, the interaction, and the usefulness of brands. What does this mean? That even the basics on marketing strategies must be evaluated, as well as a mix in media recommendation, as social media has gained a much higher ground, playing a leading role in how consumers experience, interact, and use a brand. So it is very important not only for brands, but also for marketing companies, media companies, advertising agencies, to understand that we're talking to a very different consumer mentally, and that we have to have in mind that this is going to continue to evolve, and everybody needs to be in tune so that the outcome is exactly what consumers have in mind.
Thank you, Lourdes and Maria, for sharing this valuable information. We definitely see a lot of opportunities. We have seen that consumers' priorities and emotions will keep changing, and that the new normal will also keep evolving. So we need to stay on top of these changes, and we need to be agile in shifting our strategies to stay relevant and do right by our brands and consumers. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed the information we've shared, and we'll see you soon. Stay safe.